Hi, I'm Sarah Trott, and welcome to the Fourth Trimester podcast. I'm a new mama, and this podcast is all about postpartum care for the first few months following birth, the time period also known as the fourth trimester. My postpartum doula, Esther Gallagher, is my co-host. She's a mother, grandmother, perinatal educator, birth and postpartum care provider. Fourth trimester care, our topic, is about the practical, emotional, and social support parents and baby require. And importantly, it helps set the tone for the continuing journey of parenting. Hi, everybody. This is Sarah Trott. Welcome back to the Fourth Trimester podcast. I'm here with a special guest, Erin Acharya, who Esther and I discovered through a doula network, and we're totally thrilled to have her here on the program. She herself is not a doula, but she participates in education amongst other activities, and she'll share more about that in a moment. But the topic of our conversation today is about reducing birth anxiety. It's about getting to a place where you're going to feel calmer as you approach the event of having a baby. And there's a lot of prep that goes into learning about birth, and hopefully if you're listening to this podcast, learning about postpartum, because that also is one of those things that often, you can't even see past it. There's so much focus on the birth. You can't even imagine what it's like for fourth trimester stuff. But so Erin, her whole career is spent on helping parents prepare and on helping perinatal professionals get their heads around helping their clients to reduce birth anxiety. So I want to hear more from you about this, Erin, especially all this stuff that you do in your background that's around hypnotherapy as well, because I'm really interested in that part of your story as well.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here because I love the work that you do, really giving parents more information about this. Often, like you said, kind of pushed off, or okay, we'll deal with it when we get there, time of life. And then when you get there, there's often the, oh my gosh, I wish I had prepared for this. So that's what we're doing here. So thank you for helping all those families. Yeah, so I teach primarily birth classes. And as you mentioned, they have a specific bent on that mental prep piece, right? So what happens when is so important. It's so important to get the learning to understand the process of birthing. But then I add in the piece about understanding ourselves and what we need in order to essentially downregulate our nervous system. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of more on that high anxiety end of the spectrum of things, how I was raised and how I grew up and how I respond to stress. So it's been a really big learning for me of, okay, well, I don't really want to be that way all the time. That is just not helping right now. And as I approach birth, we know that fear can really get in the way of birthing hormones and really disrupts the amazing process that we're going through. And most people want to feel like they're in the driver's seat, right? I'm making the decisions. I'm doing this. I'm a part of the experience. And when we're in fear, we're often not, right? The fear is running the show, which often leads to more medical intervention. That then impacts the postpartum period. So my mission was really to go back to those foundational skills just as people that relate so directly to birth, right? When I'm feeling stressed, when I'm feeling anxious, how do I come back to my body, back to what's true for me in that moment? How can I, in a sense, feel like there's a bit of control, at least in my experience of something? So that's what I do for birth. And then I use the same tools for birth in postpartum prep so that you're learning one thing. And these are things I still use today. My kids are 9 and 13. So 2 9-year-old boys and a 13-year-old boy. And I still am using the exact same tools. So I hope it's something that's worth the prep, worth the practice, because it's something that will carry you through.
Yeah, I love that. We'd like to talk about these resources as being for birth and postpartum, and then vaguely and beyond. Yeah. And it's so true because this period is such a unique transition period, becoming a parent. And there's so much learning that happens and so much brain chemistry change and all of these things. And so these are skills that will last a lifetime. So that's amazing. I love that you're still using them. Since you are a parent, are you open to sharing a bit about your own fourth trimester?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to be as transparent as I can with folks to really, as we mentioned in the intro, or normalizing the experience. And there's a whole, of course, range of what that might look like. So I had my firstborn, like I said, is 13. So it was a little while ago. And I had taken the hospital birth prep class, but luckily I had also taken another local kind of partner yoga class that really was amazing. But of course, there were things in that birth that was like, ooh, right. We need to make a note of that for the next one. Things just, advocating the OB, was pulling on my cord to birth the placenta. I was like, I don't think we need to do that again. Things that we just don't want to do.
Right.
They're not helpful. But we had a pretty good run of it after. I think getting 6 months off work, amazing. I'm so glad companies are really having those practices now, giving people adequate time. I mean, at least 6 months, I feel like. And then it was really after I had the twins that, man, that was definitely difficult. The twins were, of course, a unique birth. And I will say that I did get to thankfully birth them vaginally. That was my hope. Although, of course, everyone's journey with twins is going to be a little different. But it was bringing them home with kind of an intense, sometimes firstborns can be a little intense. Was your firstborn kind of an intense child or no?
I don't know. Firstborns, I think there's a lot of psychology around birth order and
Yeah.
siblings and personality stuff. So I think that tends to ring true generally, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
firstborns can kind of, they're used to all the attention and that kind of hands-on experience, which is amazing. But then having twins after that really threw us all for a bit of a loop. And so for me, it was really feeling out of my depth, right? Didn't know how to cope with less sleep, and I breastfed them, the twins. I breastfed all my kids actually for 2 years, which I never thought I would do. So I know that there's a range of feelings on how long to breastfeed. That's just what ended up feeling right. But it was also with the twins, it takes a toll on the body. So you're kind of always weighing what's worth the energy output there. And for me, I was getting so worn out. And then managing a firstborn who, as we now know, really doesn't fit into the standard kind of school experience. And so we're not also taught when things veer from the norm, like in birth or in postpartum as your children are growing, how do you navigate the uncharted territory? We were definitely thrown into that. So I found myself getting stressed, having moments of just rage because I felt there was no answer for what I was looking for, which was just so maddening that it felt so like, what has the world become if we aren't supporting people in this? And I had to grapple with that because that's not going to help me, right? Being angry, okay, honor that response, but that is not the path to move forward in. So how do I come back, right? And that's really where, after having the twins, that I went into hypnotherapy. So it was largely based off of how I prepped for having the twins, because one of them we thought we would lose. So that's a whole other story. He turned out okay. He's still like, how they see those photos of like the one kid like doing this strange thing in the family photo and the captions like there's one in every family.
Yeah.
He's definitely that kid, which is amazing too. But I'm like, oh, I can see why your development in utero was maybe even different.
Yeah.
So he's great. But it was after, how do I grapple with that knowledge and move forward in a way that feels good to me each day that I have? And then after being like, oh my gosh, all right, how do we really work on this? Because I do believe our kids end up being these mirrors, right? We have windows and mirrors in life, and our kids will absolutely mirror back the things that we're putting out there. And so I was noticing how I felt in that moment, right? Of course, impacts everything. We're all connected. So how do I then take that learning and that I use to move forward each day, develop that into something further that I could use as something simple? How do I get out of this state? This is not helping. I don't want to be here. I can't move forward. I can't learn if I'm stuck in fight, flight, freeze. So it became an evolution of just working with hypnotherapy. And I named my first business, and this is still my original name, was The Nest Hypnotherapy. Clearly, I was always going to do birth. Like my unconscious knew it was going to head there no matter what. And so then I got into birth education, and it's through that that's also been my journey, right? I still tend towards anxiety, but now I know what to do and I recognize it more quickly. That's okay. I'm actually okay with that. And then taking that so that people have those skills initially in birth that they can carry into postpartum, because we want to enjoy our lives. We don't want to be a roller coaster of stress and then feeling bad about being stressed, feeling the guilt, the shame that comes after it. The cycle is just, why do that if we can find a way that feels more authentic to who we are and more creative and alive, generative, whatever it is you want.
Yeah, I've never met anyone who said like, oh, I really enjoy feeling stressed, like regardless of life stage these are skills that everyone needs, frankly.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is that they're really magnified. The importance of managing anxiety sometimes really comes to the fore when the increased responsibility of having a baby is introduced, right? And so you were doing hypnotherapy kind of for yourself, and then it extended into supporting others with that same approach, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was. And what you're saying is also with especially the firstborn, right? We know our brains restructure. We're going from self-focused, I should say, like what do I need to survive, to other focused, which is a whole shift in identity and how we relate to the world around us. And that often triggers, right, a lot of kind of those survival behaviors, because we are trying to grapple with how does that thing survive? How do we keep that alive? And there's a whole sense of that fight, flight, or freeze that can be triggered for others. So yeah, there's that whole shift in who we are that is really a big transition period. And so yeah, the foundational skill on top of that, and also recognizing the enormity of that shift with that responsibility that comes along with that identity shift.
And stuff comes up. We've talked to so many psychologists and perinatal psychiatrists who talk about how a lot of times people will have these feelings that feel like they're coming out of nowhere. And it's often to do with the way they were raised, their own home environment, stuff that's coming out from generational stuff, those kinds of issues. And then also feeling social pressure is also something that can happen to folks. And that's anxiety causing, right? Like looking at Instagram, I was looking at your information. I know this about you, that you don't have social media, right? So maybe take a minute to talk about that, because I think it's relevant for this conversation around anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. With the social pressure, we're really looking for external validation on how we should be living and what we should be doing. And, it should be like this. And that is really confusing for a new parent, because it's often at odds with how we're feeling in our bodies and in ourselves, which causes more frustration, more anxiety, because we just can't get there. And I don't do social media, although I'm sure it would help get the word out about my business, because I don't want to add to the clutter and the noise, because I don't want to be on it myself. It's not adding any value to me whatsoever. And so through this learning, what I've also come to realize is that paying attention to what the next best thing for me is coming back home to myself, which is what I hope people can birth from that place of feeling safe in their bodies. When you feel safe in your bodies and you trust that you can make a good decision because you've learned that you're actually pretty awesome and you actually know a whole lot and you have a lot of intelligence, that when we can connect with that, it's coming back to that place that helps us make the next decision, because we take in, right, 11 million bits of information a second. That's not like a whole chunk, like a number or phrase, like little bits, but we process about 40 bits. So what are we paying attention to? What are we analyzing? What is our mind deeming as important? And when we come back to ourselves, back to what's right for us, we often begin to prioritize other things. And for me, I don't prioritize what the general consensus is doing, because that's often marketing driven, patriarchy driven. There's a lot of other factors at play that just aren't serving me. Mm-hmm. And so when I come back to my place and stop looking at all that stuff, I can listen to my gut, right? Which is directionally based, right? Our guts have 500 million neurons, right? And so what is that next step? That's all I'm looking at. And then we get the information we need and we reevaluate. And then what's the next step? I need to kind of change that. That's all we can do instead of jumping ahead to this perfect life that just doesn't exist. So I'm really looking for people to feel good now. and then now, and then, oh, information. I'm feeling stressed. Okay. What's that one? All right. Got some more information. Next step. It's a process. And when we let it unfold, we can be so surprised by the amazing things that happen that you couldn't possibly have known about or seen on Instagram prior.
Yeah, I love that. Would you call what you're talking about self-trust?
Yeah, intuition, believing in yourself.
Huh?
I really feel it stems from curiosity. Curiosity is a great way to activate creativity, which helps us solve problems in our life. So when we're just saying trust ourselves, that can seem vague, but curiosity seems really doable. Okay, interesting. Wow, shoulders got really tense there when I walked into this room. All right, I'm looking, I'm paying attention. What was that about? Instead of just
Right.
getting stressed.
Right. You're not trying to deny it exists. You're not trying to, like, you're not shaming yourself for the narrative of like, oh, I should be fine. You're not
Yeah, I should
dismissing
be
it.
really
You're
social. I
actually,
should be chatty. Yeah.
yeah, or I should look like that Instagram mom or whatever. Yeah.
Have it
Right.
all
So like if
together. Yeah.
it's saying like, what I'm feeling is real. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm going to just tune into it and understand why and
Yeah.
trust myself a little
Yeah.
bit and then be present. Like that's the other thing that comes to mind hearing you describe that. And so are these
Mm-hmm.
these themes that really come up a lot in your birth prep classes? If like
Yeah.
when you're talking about reducing anxiety around birth, this stuff comes up. Like what are some of the things that come up that parents tell you?
Well, they often come in with saying, well, I'd really like to feel like I'm in the driver's seat, or I really want to feel good. I want to be present for birth. I want to feel like really proud of myself after. And I wonder about, and a lot of times they're coming in wondering about the pain, right? There's a fear based around pain in childbirth. So how am I going to handle that? So what I focus on teaching is then, yes, first awareness, because we know through so many things, if we're talking about pain, environment, sense of safety above all else impacts pain. There's various tools we can use that we can learn about here that reduce pain perception. But all of this is really going to come from your nervous system as well. Can you stay? Can you stay in it? Or is it moving to fight, flight, freeze? And if you do, we're human. That's fine. Happens all the time. How do we get back out of that into our parasympathetic, that rest digest nervous system that helps the birth hormones flow, that helps us feel more comfortable, that helps us have access to our full mind body, right? This is our brain and our head, but our mind is our whole body. And we need to listen to that in birth. And in order to listen to that in birth, to feel more comfortable, confident, all these things we're talking about, we need to know how to stay. Be present, as you said. And so we teach those tools. I can share one.
Yeah, beautiful. I would love that. I was just going to ask, what's something we can share with our listeners that they can put into practice?
Something that I love to share out is over time, right? You can imagine, so I'm talking now. I used to overcomplicate everything. And so over all these years, my goal has been to make it as simple as possible, teaching just enough. And summed it up with a classic, mindfulness phrase of now. Just, Eckhart Tolle with the power of now and all of that. So now, as an acronym, stands for notice, open, and wonder. The notice is a practice of just becoming more aware of how you're feeling in the moment. We know that we are beings of energy. And when we're able to notice and acknowledge something in our body, there's also an allowing, letting it process through. When we notice it, we now have given a little distance. We know we're not that because now we're noticing that. And that allows that feeling to move through a little bit. So that's enormous. And even if it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes later, and now you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. I was feeling stressed then. That is still huge because you're teaching your unconscious mind, I need to pay attention to that. That matters. And once again, we know that what we learn to pay attention to influences our behavior and our experience of life. So the attention, notice. And then we open. I like to use the calming breath of in 4, out 8 that downregulates the nervous system. We're just opening up. We're opening our body up. We're opening our mind up. Just our experience, being willing. So we just breathe in with a relaxed jaw, 4, and then out 8. Sometimes doing that 3 times is wonderful. Follow what feels right for you. And then the W, wonder. What am I noticing? what feels right now? What do I actually, oh my gosh, I need to go to the bathroom. Like just something
Yeah.
as simple as that we sometimes don't notice for 30 plus minutes. Or gosh, I really, I could use a little outside time. Or, oh, you know what? I need a little more information here to make a decision. Okay. All right. Who's a trusted provider that I can ask that? That we're opening the door to moving beyond that state, right? All we are is change. That is, we have to really work to maintain a state by repeating, by saying, by bringing it up over and over again. But when we do those simple things, we're able to begin to open the door to the limitless possibilities that are out there. So starting with the now.
Yeah. And so is that one of the many tools that you teach parents around how they can practically reduce their anxiety about birth?
Yeah, absolutely. Noticing the feelings, opening. The calm breath is the same breath we use between waves. It's the same breath I use automatically now when my kids start really getting loud, right? 3 boys. I don't love a loud, wild environment. And oh my gosh, I certainly got the kids to teach me how to manage that. And so it moves through, right? Calming down between waves, letting that happen, wondering, okay, what do I need now? Birth, I need to get on all fours. I don't know. I just feel like I just want to move. I'm thirsty, all of those things. So we're practicing it now with the now. And also we're relating that to our mental prep for birth, because foundationally, we need to understand how we work and how to work with how we feel, because birth is raw feeling, vulnerability like never before, and moving into the unknown and how to deal and move through the liminal space. So absolutely, that's what we
Yeah.
work on in class, with
Yeah.
understanding the process of birthing too. There's got to be a lot of conscious learning in there as well.
Is this one of the tools that you're using now? Because you mentioned at the top, still like putting this into practice with your older kids? It sounds like.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
always something new that comes up, right? Especially like one of my eldest schools online. And that wasn't something that I really thought, especially, with people hating it in the pandemic. We've moved into that, and there's always new information coming up, or with one of my youngest. And so I'll have those moments of like, oh, okay, this matters. All right. Okay. And I'll move through with the same tools and wonder. And sometimes I'll snap still and I'll yell at them or something like that. And then I have to go and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was feeling so stressed and I just didn't take a moment to breathe. And then, we repair, we move forward, and it's okay because we're not perfect. But in that moment, when I noticed and I realized, I did it.
Yeah, that
That's what
nervous system
matters.
regulation work. Yes.
And then guess what? They regulate.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're modeling it, right? So we talk
Mm-hmm.
about mirrors and it goes in both directions.
And we're all connected. Our nervous systems aren't separate. They
Mm.
interrelate.
How do they interrelate? Like, what does that mean practically?
It means that, right, we all know when we walk into a room and there's something going on in that room. It's probably us at an unconscious level, like that 11 million bits of information, right? We're noticing people's tension. We're noticing their body language. We're noticing tone of voice. We're noticing all kinds of things that we can't consciously really be aware of. The only thing that pops into our conscious mind then at that moment is something is off. With our kids, we co-regulate. So they not only do our heart rates sync up with people we're in coherence with, partners, take note of that if you are supporting someone in birth, right? We know that grounding ourselves, feeling confident and calm in our bodies gives permission to those around us to do the same, because we've signaled actually it's safe.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
impacts that. Also, our brains will sync up in some sense. Heart Rate's Heart Math Institute is the one that discovered that heart coherence, even people over the telephone. So we know that we do actually, like, our physiology relates to those around us. We are very much creatures, social creatures that depend on others for our well-being. And so we're very sensitive to that, whether we're aware of it or not. And so by grounding ourselves, seeing those around us as capable of being able to change, we give them the space to do so.
Yes. Yes. Well, I appreciate you going into that into detail, because for those people who are analytical, perhaps the more anxious side of the spectrum, right?
Yes.
It's good to have that information and the sort of like data points, because it's useful and motivating to say, well, I want to understand that better. There's a real reason to do this work. There's a real reason to invest in your birth preparation and learning these tools. And so for the hypnotherapy part, is that just work that you do before the birth, or do you actually do like hypnobirthing?
Great question. So hypnobirthing really encompasses kind of a wide range, although when I think of hypnobirthing, I think of Marie Mongan original course. And quite frankly, almost all other classes along those lines are using her work. So I want to honor her when we talk about hypnobirthing, because she was an amazing woman. For me, I do use hypnosis audios in the classes. So you get access to that because I want to give people brain training. And I don't use affirmation, although that's great. A lot of my mom is like, you're saying over analytical, overthinking. I don't want them to think their way through this. You cannot birth with your conscious mind. So I don't want them to be telling themselves, I am calm. I want to help them update their belief systems around what they're capable of around birth. And so we're really going back to those more unconscious processes. And so my audios speak to that. How do we update our sense of self in that way so that when you get to birth, you feel those things? So I do use hypnosis audios, but I'm using different techniques than what were traditionally thought of as hypnobirthing. So while I love affirmations but that has been done and there are amazing people who do that. So I'm offering that unconscious brain training along the way. That's a part of class. Also, as you mentioned, it's great to have the conscious awareness. Like, why do I need to practice this? What is it actually doing? Because us analytical types that are, or maybe intellectual, love to question things, want to know the best, be the best, provide the best for our children, that we need that conscious buy-in to say, okay, all right, I'm going to do the thing. So that's a part of it. And I think that relates into hypnobirthing. And then also I offer one-to-one hypnotherapy. So what's become a more recent, I'm always evolving, right? I think my name, Birth Evolved, is my company. And with that, I've always evolved classes. So now I offer one-to-one. So let's say someone buys the recorded course, which is phenomenal. I've also found it's been amazing to work with people who've had some prior learning with the work. And then we do a one-to-one. And that really allows me to help with what comes up for them. I do very client-centered therapy. I don't have scripts or things that I'm using. It's very much, okay, tell me, like, what are you bringing in? Or let's just work with that unconscious mind. I guide you, but I'm letting you show me what it is that you need. And also trusting that you have a healing ability within you, that I can never know what you need, but together we can uncover that and allow you to experience that change. So that's also been an addition more recently, getting back into the one-on-ones, especially paired with my coursework.
Yeah. Well, some people might really want that personalized touch, that kind of work that actually speaks to specific issues that they're grappling with that may or may not be getting fully addressed in some of the other prep work that you have available that isn't, human specific or person specific.
Exactly. Yeah. There's only so much you can do in an audio, right? You can really get a lot of skills, but oftentimes there's that that hesitation, that worry, that particular place, right? That might come from how you were born or things like that we can really get into in a very empowering way. Try to make sure people feel like they are in the driver's seat. They're doing the change, because ultimately that's what we also want for birth prep. You've got this.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I've always wondered about with the concept of hypnobirthing or just like listening to audio during while in labor is, does it disconnect? Because I hear different views on this, but does it is the idea that you want to stay connected and in your body so that you can have that intuition? Because does the audio or this other work during labor actually take your mind away from your body and distract you? Because you touched on this earlier, that there's a huge fear around pain. And so there might be this dream come true seemingly solution that if I'm hypnotized, I'm not going to feel any pain. Great. Right. Sign me up. So
I know,
but that would mean disconnecting somehow from the experience in your body.
That's called an epidural. And yes, it cuts off the sensation to your body or alters it. So no, hypnosis is really in and of itself a heightened state of awareness. You get rid of all the noise, all the clutter, and you're in a state of hypnosis to work on the one thing. It's not about a detachment or a lack of knowing or understanding or somebody else taking control. It is you in the driver's seat more than ever before because, right, we're getting rid of the cultural messages. We're getting rid of all of the stuff that isn't us. But in birth, when we're able to do that, we're in our body, we'll feel safe, we trust and believe in ourselves, we have that access to our intuition, right, which is always there. But when we're in a state of fear, we are not accessing those parts because we're really focused on fleeing in those moments. That is a survival skill. It's so important, but not what we want in birth, unless it is not a safe time to birth, in which case, yes, your body will help you with that. But for most of us, we're ready. We want to have these babies. We just want to get out of the way. And that is what the hypnosis does. So we are in our body feeling the sensations. And yes, they're very intense. And you might very well say that was painful. However, it's doable. And even my 13-year-old, I was joking like, oh, we can talk about the meaning of life or something like that. And he was like, would you like to talk about the meaning of life? And I was like, why, yes. What do you think is the meaning of life? And he's like, I just don't think it's worth it without the struggle. Because that is where you learn and grow. And birth is no different. We're not looking for this to be some easy pass period. Or if you are, honor that. Say, look, I don't want to do any of that. That is just not where I want to go. That is fantastic. Trust yourself in what it is you want. But there's also value if you are ready to go there and that's something you want to do, in learning how to sit with the sensation, how to sit with the feeling, and being curious, what does it feel like for me? Because pain is also, it's an interpretation by the brain. What do I know about this is a big thing. Do I know it hurts? Well, I'm just going to jump right to that. Or can you sit with it long enough to know what your experience of it is and how to work with one wave, which is what we call contractions, how to do the next one, how to downregulate between so your body can continue to adjust. It's how to do hard things and who you are when you know that you can.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that. Yeah. So, because it sounds more like a deep state of meditation.
With purpose.
With purpose.
So meditation is more being. Hypnosis is a little more focused. Right? We're doing something, whether it's allowing these sensations and moving through and working with them, or in birth, focused on the sensations of my body, my breath, because it's a real mental challenge, right? Like running a marathon. People might have the physical capability, but in order, you ask any marathon runner, it is the mental challenge to keep going, the persistence. And so that is what we're using the hypnosis for. The ability to know I'm safe. Keep going. One breath. My body's doing everything right, and having that knowledge to continue to be with the experience.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that we've covered a lot of ground. You've shared some practical tools everyone can put into practice in their life. Everyone, including professionals, pregnant or not, men or women, everyone could really benefit from the Now tools. So that was wonderful. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
so what else do you want to share? Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to make sure we hit on?
I would just love for people to consider truly what it is that they want and to value that, right? Getting rid of the cultural noise. And we've covered a range of possibilities too in birth, but trusting that what you want is important and that you can move towards that, even if things shift. Okay, we can never know. We can never know. But when you go towards your goal in a way that feels really good to you, trusting that intuition, learning these tools, you can't be led astray. So I hope each and every person listening really takes that moment to notice what they're feeling and to believe in themselves and their ability to know that what they want is absolutely valid and there's nothing better for them.
Great. Thank you so much, Erin. Erin, where can people learn more about you?
Thanks, Sarah. They can look me up on birthevolved.com. And you can really learn about the classes. They're on a platform. I use a woman-founded platform, Mighty Networks, for the courses and communities. So that's always trying to broad my community of amazing women as well. I also have a podcast now, In the Wash. It's new. So you'd probably have to look up In the Wash, Erin Acharya, or something like that to find it in Spotify. But we're really examining cultural norms surrounding birth and parenthood so that we can, as you're saying with social media, like, oh, do I believe that? Interesting. Just to be able to get back in touch with what feels right for you.
Lovely. And you mentioned there's something that you're offering for our listeners.
So yes, we have a coupon code for 10% off for all your listeners at fourth trimester. So you're just going to type in fourth trimester when you register for any course, and you'll get 10% off of that. So I have a fully recorded course, Calm and Confident Birth, for those that their schedule, that would work much better. You're getting those mind-body tools and partner class and understanding birth. And then I also have a live online class where classes via Zoom. And that class meets for 5 weeks. And there's always a new class coming around the corner. So you sign up, get your 10% off, and then pick the class that's right for you. And if you miss one, that's fine. Catch the next one that's coming or watch the recorded course. So that's how people can get in touch, and hopefully it gives your listeners a chance. And if anyone has extenuating financial circumstances but really would benefit from this work, reach out to me. We are a larger community, and I want to help and support that community. And I want anyone who wants these tools to have access. So please do reach out. And that would be Erin at birthevolved.com. So ERIN at birthevolved.com, or my contact page on my website.
Erin, thank you so much. I appreciate the offer. Please take advantage. And Erin, thanks again for the wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You can subscribe to this podcast in order to hear more from us. Thank you for listening, everyone, and I hope you'll join us next time on the fourth trimester. The theme music on this podcast was created by Sean Trott. Hear more at soundcloud.com/Sean Trott. Special thanks to my true loves, my husband Ben, daughter Penelope, and baby girl Evelyn. Don't forget to share the fourth trimester podcast with any new and expecting parents. I'm Sarah Trott. Goodbye for now.
Hello again, bicycle man. I know you're doing all that you can. I wrote the song, simple and true. I wrote the song, I'll sing a song for you. You got your wheels, you got your gears. You ride around town without any fear. You got your pedals, you got your brakes. You always wear your helmet for safety's sake. Hello again, bicycle man. I know you're doing all that you can. I wrote the song, simple and true. I wrote the song, I sing a song for you. Hello again, bicycle man. I know you're doing the best that you can. I wrote the song, simple and true. I wrote the song, I sing a song for you.